Okay, so if the length of the video didn't give any indication prior, this is quite easily my biggest manga haul in a single month. Now, as I check to make sure that I can still pay rent this month, it's actually surprising looking at it at first glance how little I paid for this entire haul. Now, I'm not going to tell you the specific number of it because it's still a lot, but that's because I found so many great deals along this month. I traveled around the country essentially. I was in Texas, Pennsylvania, Ohio, various different places for work. And in combination with some online retailers, I was not only able to find great deals online for new stuff, I was able to find box sets. I was able to find stuff from like before 2005. There's such a wide variety of things in this haul that like it's probably my favorite at this point. You know what? Actually, I am gonna show you one thing and I'm gonna tell you the price just to give you an example of the deals that I found. Okay. Don't fall. So the first thing I'm going to show you all is this Tokyo Ghoul regular box set. So this is something that came out several years ago, and honestly, it's really hard to find, especially in person. Most people usually right now have it waiting on like back order, and if you want to buy this now online, it's going to cost you like over $300. Now, let me tell you that this has everything inside of it, and it's basically almost in new condition. There's a little bit of wear and tear over here just from opening it, which I mean is fine. I mean, I'm gonna read all these soon, but it's even got the poster inside of it too. It was actually priced $300. Now for this, I actually paid under $200 to buy this IRL at a store, but because of a discount barcode that somebody in our Discord servers sent around, I saved 15% on this. And you may be pulling out your calculators and doing the math, and you're like, Jake, 15% of 300 is not under 200, and you are totally correct. But what was the real kicker though was that this came from half-price books. Now at half-price books, they have a stamp program to where if you buy over $20 of books or items, I guess they have other things besides books, you get a stamp. You collect enough stamps, you get a 25% off discount. And let me tell you, although it says on here cannot be combined with other promotions, the seller combined my 15% discount with my 25% discount to make it 40% overall. Therefore, 40% of 300 is whatever this number is right here, minus 300 is whatever this number is, which is what I paid. And so this haul is a bunch of stuff similar to that. Some of those I'll even recount in this video. Now, staying on the topic of this though, usually we'll go over every single volume in box sets to appreciate the volumes like we appreciate every volume in this video. But now that I have the Tokyo Ghoul box set and the Tokyo Ghoul RE box set, I was thinking of doing a video similar to how I did an unbiased review of Bleach, a video that you all really liked. And in there, I'll showcase the volumes for you. But anyways, let's check out all of the other, I think like 90 plus volumes that I got in this month. So now we're gonna kind of go in alphabetical order. The first one being volume 10 of 86. Now this is a light novel series, so it's not manga, but I collect light novels just as much, especially when it comes to my favorite anime, and 86 is one of those series that I absolutely adore. This series by Asato Asato, to me, honestly, feels like it has it all. A little bit of everything. It's got a ton of drama, a lot of action, adventure, military, even a hint of romance, you know? This series has everything. But the anime is one of the few anime that I literally could not stop watching. Like, I actually think I canceled a planned stream just so I could finish the first season of this anime in the day that I started watching it. That's how crazy this show is. That's how incredible this storytelling is, in my opinion. And I absolutely love this, and I cannot wait for the next anime project as well as to continue reading this series. The next set of novels I have, at least, I probably won't read for a while, but I've got 3 volumes, all 3 of them, of Bleach Can't Fear Your Own World. Now there's 3 volumes in total, 1, 2, and 3. I've gotten them all. And the reason that I'm probably not gonna read it yet is because this series takes place post Quincy 1000 Year Blood War. Now this series does great things like give more details on the Four Noble Houses, the Soul King, Arrancar, the Fullbringers, all of them. And they kind of tie up the loose ends that the manga couldn't really figure out. There are several other novels that try to do this same thing in terms of tying up these loose ends, including Spirits Are Forever With You and We Do Not Always Love You. Eventually I'll get to these, but I think what I want to do is finish the actual Bleach manga first before I get in these. But definitely expect an unbiased review sometime in the future about these novels, because I mean there's 3 of them. It's a pretty hefty like sample size. Staying on the shonen route though, we have my favorite series, my favorite manga, Chainsaw Man. Now, this is the final volume of Chainsaw Man Part 1 by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and I just talk about this series so much. You barely need an intro for this series at this point for the manga, and it's one of the most hyped series in Shonen Jump's catalog. Part 2 of Chainsaw Man is supposedly coming out this summer, but this series is absolutely chaotic, it's absolutely breathtaking, and it's a ton of fun all in one story. The anime adaptation is also coming out soon, which is probably where you have heard of Chainsaw Man, most people. You can still get a good chunk of the volumes in stores physically, as from what I've seen. So hopefully you're able to jump on this series. I highly recommend it. Now, one series that I don't really know about, but has been recommended to me by a couple people already, Crazy Food Truck. So I've actually picked up the first volume of this that just came out, I believe, a couple weeks ago. And it's about this guy named Gordon. He runs a food truck in this barren wasteland type deal. And he eventually comes across a naked sleeping girl. He ends up being like, hey, join the crew, but the army is after her. So it's kind of like their adventure. It kind of, at least from the story perspective, I still have yet to read this volume. Seems like it kind of gives off a Sakamoto Days kind of vibe, which I really like the first volume of Sakamoto Days. I'm excited to get into this one. It is a little bit of explicit content, probably because, you know, naked sleeping girl. But I've heard from a couple people that this is a really, really fun read, and so I'm excited to get into it and excited to see when volume 2 comes. If volume 2 comes. I don't think it's a 1-volume thing. But one thing that most anime and manga fans know that certainly has a legacy is the story of Death Note. Now, there is a new volume of Death Note that just came out. Now, these are comprised mostly of one-shots of the series, kind of looking inside the impact of Kira. You also kind of read into the lives of people affected by the Death Note. Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata pair together once again to continue a beloved story. I've heard that this is pretty good so far. I have yet to take a read at it, but this cover is absolutely gorgeous. I love how on this you can kind of read Death Note right here. It's really, really cool how they kind of have that like a secret thing, because the Death Note powers are also kind of a secret thing. I don't know how these short stories go and where they eventually lead, but it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they made more of these. But one series they need to keep making more of, because I absolutely love it, is Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Now, this is volume 4, and you may have heard me talk about it, but this is one of the most beautiful series I've ever read in terms of its art, specifically background art. Just this cover alone, the detail of the mountains and the snow is absolutely gorgeous, and I feel like every panel does this in this series. This is kind of a slower shonen adventure where the message of the series is living with memories and honestly appreciating those memories. The story's great in my opinion. I love the characters and it's just absolutely beautiful. Like, man, I want to show you that sneak peek that I saw, but I just don't want to spoil it for you. Oh God, but it's just so pretty. Chapter 32, if you want to know what I'm talking about. The cover of chapter 32. Well, one series that I've finally caught up with its releases is the Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal editions. Now, I got the rest of the volumes that I needed to be up to date, which is 4. I got volume 6, and then I got the newly released volume 17. Full Metal Alchemist, one of the most beloved series of all time, and for good reason. I've seen the original anime, which I know is not necessarily based on the manga at a certain point, but in my opinion was still really, really good. Volume 17 goes over 104 chapters, so there's not too many to go. There's not going to be too many Full Metal editions to get. So honestly, if you want to get on Fullmetal Alchemist, maybe you're late to the game like I am, or you want these beautiful, beautiful Fullmetal edition versions, definitely try to get it now. It's probably the easiest way that you are going to get the manga for Fullmetal Alchemist, and in my opinion, it's the best looking way too. You can find most, if not all, of these volumes at a like Barnes and Noble. I feel like more often than not, I would say probably over 2/3 of the volumes are at every Barnes and Noble that I go to. And so now we're going to be getting into some cool new LGBTQ manga that I found newly released. I Want to Be a Wall Volume 1. Now, this is a slice of life story of an asexual woman who is an absolute boys love fangirl, and then also a kind of closeted gay man who is in love with his best friend, childhood best friend that is. And because of their situations and nagging parents like mine, they ended up getting married, and so the story is living together with each other. Now, this volume was actually pretty cute. I did enjoy it. It has some really funny moments. It's also really cool to see two people really try to get to know each other. I mean, a lot of people probably don't understand a lot of the feelings that someone who identifies as asexual has. So as someone like the male MC, he really tries to get to know her on a more personal level because, well, I mean, they're living together, so you gotta know them a little bit, and it causes for some really fun moments. There are also some serious conversations, at least in this first volume as well, and different ideas and topics that I think they're really gonna tackle in future volumes of this series. Overall, I thought it was a good read. I think it's something that if you're even remotely interested and you want more LGBTQ manga because it is Pride Month, then this one is definitely worth checking out. Another one that I super recommend, and I'm actually so excited because I have finally completed this series. I have gotten the final 3 volumes of Love Me for Who I Am. I'm sorry about that ring light there, which consists of volumes 3, 4, and 5 capping off the entire series. Now, if you don't know the story, Fukaboku for short, this is a story about Mogumo, a non-binary identifying student who's invited to work at this maid cafe by their peer Tetsu Iwaoka. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Tetsu actually invited Megumo because he thought that Megumo was a cross-dressing boy. And so with that premise, this story is all about tackling the idea of gender, something that is very prevalent and people are constantly having conversations about this day and age. Whether you are someone that identifies in the LGBTQ community, specifically as non-binary, or maybe you're an ally, you have a friend, a close family member, or something like that that identifies as non-binary. This, at least through the first 2 volumes, was a really good read about self-identity, being open-minded, kind of learning and understanding other individuals. I thought it was really good, and honestly, when we talk about LGBTQ stories, I don't see a lot of people talking about this series. It's not necessarily the most popular series out there, but it's definitely a good one. And I'm really excited because Kata Konoyama has done an excellent job, at least in the first 2 volumes, of just some beautiful, adorable art, and I can't, my body. But one that is definitely not lighthearted in any sense of the fashion is Made in Abyss. I have finally gotten up to date on Made in Abyss. I finally found volume 3 in a Right Stuff restock email notification, and then I picked up volume 10 because that recently released as well. Now this, if you want cool and sometimes cute but then immediately freaky stuff, this is for you. And Made in Abyss season 2, the anime, is right around the corner. This is about the horrors of the unknown lurking in literally every corner where being not careful could mean your death. This story is a crazy adventure with very gut-wrenching moments and stuff that really puts you on the edge of your seat. This is one of my favorite anime, at least, to watch, and trust me, it's great. It's graphic, it's horrifying, but it's great. The storytelling in this series and the aspect of the unknown and building the environment is one that is honestly, out of my collection, could be second to none. Well, it competes with other things in terms of environmentalism, but I'll get to that later. Either way, it's a great series. series, in my opinion. Okay, maybe you don't want the super serious stuff. Maybe you just want to laugh like crazy until you start crying. Mashle Magic and Muscles is gonna get you there. Now, this weekly Shonen Jump Goofy Fantasy is a series following Mash Bernadette. He literally has no magic in a world where magic places you in society. So if you didn't get it by the muscles part, he literally just tries to brute force his way through everything. He's got to become a what they call divine visionary, or basically like kind of like valedictorian in a magic academy with no magic at all. And the series is absolutely hilarious through the 6 volumes out right now. It's continuously going. I think it's on like the final third, at least in Japan. So start getting these while you can. I never really see a lot of volumes get stocked at bookstores, but you can usually find the volume that you're looking for in terms of IRL locations. Now, this next one is a newly released series, and it kind of is unfair to call it a series because even though in Japan it is 2 volumes, the US release of this combined it into 1. Mizuno and Chayama, this recently released LGBTQ story, is a single omnibus volume encapsulating the entire series. And it's pretty big too. It's got over 400 pages in this. And the mangaka Yuta Nishio has been a part of other Yuri series as well, like Syrup, After Hours. So they've been around the block when it comes to writing good Yuri content. If you don't know what this story is, it's about environmental politics. Well, no, I mean, it's about Yuri, but like, just listen. There's 2 sides of this environmental political debate. One of the parties is a major tea company, and the other party claims that the tea company has been polluting. And within these 2 parties is Mizuno in one and Chayama in another. I don't actually know who is who, to be honest. I don't know why I'm pretending like I do. And because of their connections in those parties, these 2 have to meet in secret. Now, I don't know much else besides that because I just haven't read this yet. I have a huge backlog because I don't know if you noticed, I bought like over 100 volumes this month, but I'm excited to get into this eventually soon because it looks fun. It looks cute. It looks fun, and I'm excited to try it. But speaking of fun Yuri volumes, Catch These Hands Volume 1 is another recent release that I picked up for my collection. Now, think of this story. You are a former delinquent. You are a rebel rouser, but you want to change your ways. You want to become a betterment to society. And so you're on your way of doing that, starting your new life, and then your former rival comes up to you and challenges you in a fight. Of course, you say yes because mama didn't raise no, and you end up losing. Now, you may be wondering what happens when you lose in these duels, and turns out you gotta date your rival. No, yeah, I'm serious. Like, date your rival. That's the punishment. It's a very one-sided win. But this is a story about those 2 connecting, and it's a comedy. It's a fun Yuri comedy that I've heard some good things about, so I'm excited to try it. I was originally gonna wait until like more volumes are released because I've kind of heard mixed things about it. I haven't heard bad things, but I've heard a lot of people say that it's good, and I've heard a lot of people say that it's not so different from anything else that they've read. But I'm gonna read this for myself, and I'm gonna formulate my own opinion, as always, as should you. But I really like the art in here. I think it's actually like really cute and fits the story well. Okay, if you want to talk about cute though, and you don't want to talk about delinquents, and you want to talk about healthy relationships, My Dress Up Darling Volume 5 is one of them. Now, this is the winter 2022 anime that took the season by storm, over with best girl Marin Kitagawa and Gojo-kun. I don't know his full name. Now, the 5th volume of Shinichi Fukuda's work in My Dress Up Darling takes us to the succubus cosplay, and if you watch the anime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this, I read this volume, and it does that. I won't speak any more on it for spoiler purposes. But seriously though, I love this series so much. It is so cute, it's so adorable, and it's so much fun. Not only because, one, it's a healthy relationship, something that we don't get a lot, and we definitely need to be reminded of what a healthy relationship is, especially in this day and age, but also because it dives into that world of cosplay. If you don't know this series already, this does a really good job, in my opinion, of diving into like what cosplay is. Now, as otakus and anime manga fans, you probably know what cosplaying is, but you don't really know what cosplaying is. And so this series does a great job of giving you a much deeper knowledge without going so deep that you get lost. There's a great developing relationship in this series. It's one of my favorite rom-coms, like seriously. It's just, oh God, it's so good. Now, not necessarily, I mean, there is a little bit of love romance in here if you watch the anime, and I liked it. Sabiku Bisco. Sabikui Bisco. I actually don't know how to pronounce this one now that I think about it. But anyways, this is volume 2, now going past where the anime adaptation left off. We get more adventures of Dr. Panda Milo and Akaboshi Bisco, my favorite superhero, to be honest. It's a setting of post-apocalyptic Japan where rust has taken over, even diseasing people. And at least in the first volume, it was finding out the mushroom that can save everybody and save the rust. I don't really know much about this second volume, but I enjoyed the first volume so much. The illustrations in here are absolutely gorgeous, and its storytelling's really good too. It's a great shonen adventure if you want to get into something that's not overly popular. I think the characters mesh well together. I think the relationships are great, and it's just a fun read. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's just a very fun read. But going back to the lovey-dovey fun reads, we have Sasaki and Miyano Volume 5. Now, this is a pair of good boys that I absolutely love. Now, the manga in terms of in the United States is not necessarily caught up to where the anime left off, but it is still an exciting and beautiful story. I love this art style, how it kind of combines modern manga and its art alongside kind of like that older shoujo style, similar to like Fruits Baskets. It's very cute. It's very fun, and the self-identity in here in this couple is absolutely adorable. I admit, I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to boys love manga, and if you don't either, I think that this is a great starter manga for anybody who maybe wants to try out and take a deeper dive into the boys love drama. It's a great kind of coming of age story, and I can't wait for more of that. I can't wait for the new anime project as well, whatever that is. I can't remember if it's a new anime season or movie or OVA or what. I just can't wait for it. Now, one that I continuously hear is getting rumors for an anime adaptation, but nothing is confirming it. It's Solo Leveling. Now, this is volume 4 of Solo Leveling. This manhwa is kind of your OP character in a video game based setting. Now, it's not an isekai, it's someone who just gains powers to boost himself up like in a video game. And the main character, Sung Jin Woo, goes from like 0 to hero and basically wants to overthrow the government in a very basic sense of the explanation. It's a fun series that has incredible art in my opinion, and it's also very sinister at times. And honestly, I'm a sucker for colored panels, and everything in here is colored like a comic. It's absolutely gorgeous. I really hope it does get animated, and animated by a great series. I think the rumors as of late have been saying A1, the same people that did 86, which honestly I'd be really excited about, but I'd really hope that they nail the production and the quality is there on the back end, because although 86 is an excellent product on the front end of it, there were a lot of problems, including like a 3-month delay on the anime in core 2 of the first season, which honestly I don't mind. Like, you take as long as you need to get stuff done. Like, I totally understand. I would rather have a quality product at the end than an unfinished product sooner. But like, I still don't like that, you know, things went to that point. I just hope the environment gets a little better over there. Going back to the light novels, I got all the way up to date, got the final volumes I needed of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, or Tensura Slime, which includes 8, 9, and 12 here. It's one of the top selling light novels in Japan as of right now, and it makes me actually kind of care about politics a lot. Our main character, Satoru Mikami, is murdered in the regular world that we know and is reincarnated into a Slimer, this guy right here. He learns his skills, find out he's incredibly OP, and he becomes the ruler of this nation. There's a lot of secrets to uncover, there's a lot of stories to tell, and I absolutely love this series. It has a couple seasons of the anime as well as a movie coming out, and it's just really, really good in my opinion. Does a really good job, just like other series I mentioned, of setting environmentalism, and I love the characters as well in this story. Now, for some shonen fans, it may be a little bit slower than things that you're used to, but I feel like it's slow enough to where it doesn't drag on, it doesn't slog on really, and it's kind of enjoyable through and through. You start to understand that how this story takes, that these slower parts are very impactful to the overall series and how it proceeds. So it kind of like continues your interest in those kind of slower sections. It's a really, really good series. I'm excited to start reading it now that I have all these volumes, and I can't decide, do I want to go farther than the anime or like, I don't know, we'll find out. But one series you can watch the anime and you can collect every single volume that's being printed in this series is Agent Demi-Human. Now this is volume 3 specifically. Now this is a dark and twisted seinen manga where Agent is what the monster thing is called, the demi-human, are really exposed in the world when people die. Now, our main character, Nagai Ken, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, finds out that he's an agent because of a traffic accident. He gets killed and then reincarnated essentially as this thing that doesn't die. And so, because agent are feared among all and subjected to inhumane experiments, he's got to run away. And let me tell you, after 2 volumes that I read previously, it was pretty good. The art is super spooky. The story looks like it's going to go in a really, really good direction. And I've heard great things about the series itself. It's been done for a little bit, and there's also an anime adaptation, I believe, on Netflix. So if you want to try to get into the anime before you jump in here, then by all means go ahead. It's really, really cool and really, really twisted, so I'm excited to continue more. Now, one of the series that I know I absolutely love, and for shonen fans, there's probably a lot of you in here as well that love it. I got volumes 7, 8, 9 and 10 of Black Clover. Now I have the first 10 volumes of Black Clover, a series that I really, really enjoy. One of my favorite shonens to have watched and binged the 170 episodes that are out right now. Again, just like Mashle, Asta here, our main character, is born in an era and a society where magic determines your place. Him having no magic, well, it might be hard to become the Wizard King like he wants to. Fortunately for him though, he acquires what is called anti-magic. And so the story follows him and his team, the Black Bulls, into not only solving Asta's mystery, but also uncovering the dark secrets of the world around them. It's a really fun series. Now, this series, apart from other ones that I've showcased so far, has such a wide array of characters. There are so many different personalities, antagonists, that each one like kind of feels unique and special in their own right, not just because of their magic powers. And it's really, really cool in my opinion. Yuki Tabata has done an excellent job with this series, and I'm excited to continue reading onto a story that I know I'm going to enjoy. I believe by the time that this video releases, volume 29 of the series should have released. And so especially before the movie comes out, I gotta get going and collect more and more of these volumes. I gotta catch up a lot. Now, a series that I actually knocked out a couple volumes as well in my quest to get up to date, Classroom of the Elite. So I got volumes 3, I got volume 4, I got volume 7.5, and I got volume 11 in this light novel series. Now, this is kind of a psychological thriller type of series in a high school where there's more than meets the eye, not only because of its students, like our main character. I gotta look at my notes how to pronounce this guy's name. Kitotaka Ayano Koji, probably pronounced in a different way, definitely has more than what his perspective portrays in this series. Now, in the class D full of rejects, he's got to keep him and his classmates out of trouble and maybe reach up to class A. There's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of action that's like, oh, this makes so much sense now, and like, That is the kind of stuff that I absolutely love. It's really, really cool. It's one of the most highly rated light novel series to date, and after 2 volumes of reading, I got to start reading volume 3, I can agree that this is a really, really good one. Now, the final volume of the first part of the series, 11.5, is going to be releasing soon, but outside of that, to complete year 1, I only need volumes 4.5 and 5 in order to be completely up to date. Maybe you don't want to think though. Maybe you want to read some crazy, cool, funny, goofy, but also incredibly well drawn, kind of dark storytelling. And let me tell you about Die Dark Volume 1. Now, it follows Zaha Sanko, who's an alien evading capture. What's the reason he's evading capture? Well, legend says that getting his bones can grant any wish. So obviously, he doesn't want someone to take his bones. This science fiction, dark fantasy, and comedy has gotten really, really good reviews, and especially from some of my friends, including Treno Y, the first person to recommend me this series. And to be honest, he's never recommended me a bad series. So like, I gotta go with this one and I gotta read it. I flipped through it a little bit, especially when I first bought it, and some of this art is astounding. There's a lot of detail. It looks super sinister, and I'm so excited to get into reading this soon. Now, a light novel series that I really, really recommend that you read, The Executioner and Her Way of Life. So going back to LGBTQ series, this one is a Yuri light novel series. Now, it's a little bit lighter on the Yuri, but it's still Yuri. But what is most captivating about this series is how it rebrands the Isekai genre. You have Menu, who is just a pure priestess. She goes out and she finds lost ones, or people who are Isekai'd into her world. She's pure and just because when she finds lost ones, she kills them. Hence why she's called the Executioner. The anime at the time of this recording is currently airing this season, and it is one of the ones that I am super glad that I kept my High Dive subscription. I had no idea that this anime was going to captivate me this much, and it has been so good in my opinion. It's been thrilling, it's been suspenseful. I like the characters and how they mesh and how they're developing as well throughout the story, and especially as the plot has thickened through like episode 9, 10-ish. It's getting really, really good. I'm super excited to go through Mato Sato's version and source material of the series, and I feel like I know I'm gonna love this, and I super recommend it. If you're unsure, maybe you have High Dive, maybe a free trial of High Dive, go check out this series. It's so good. A series that I do know though from an anime adaptation that recently released in previous seasons, Faraway Paladin, the novel hitting on my bookshelf. So I watched this anime when it first was airing, and I liked it. I thought it was a good anime. It was kind of like a slower isekai type thing that had just a good mix of a little bit of comedy, a little bit of lighthearted fun, a little bit of action as well, adventure sprinkled into it, and just beautiful designs. I also follow the novelist on Twitter, and Kanata Yanagino has done an excellent job just being a ball of fun, especially online. Like, they're one of those people that you see and you find and you're like, I want to support this person. So Faraway Paladin, The Boy in the City of the Dead, I'm super excited to take a gander at this, read this, and it's also like hardcover light novel from the J Novel Club, and it's really, really high quality. I'm excited. I like these covers as well. I think they're illustrated beautifully. Kusasaga Rin did an excellent job in my opinion. I'm really ready to start reading it. Now, a mangaka that I know that I really, really love because of works like Chainsaw Man that we talked about earlier, and then also the one shot I really, really liked, Goodbye Eri. I picked up the first volume of Fire Punch. Now, I've known about Fire Punch for a while, another great work and a highly regarded work of Tatsuki Fujimoto, but I've never been able to find volume 1. But luckily, at one of the stores that I went to on a work trip, I ended up picking this up and finding it. Now, just like Chainsaw Man, it's another wild story, something like that you kind of come to expect from a guy like Tatsuki Fujimoto. The world is honestly a frozen dystopia where people have to eat flesh to live. A couple of our main characters find out they can regenerate, and several people also have blessings just like them, varying ways, but not all of them are good. This story goes into what I've heard is a bunch of twists and turns like Chainsaw Man, and I'm super excited to start reading this. I want to get more of Tatsuki Fujimoto's works, especially because Look Back is going to be releasing here in the next couple months, which if you do not know is another one-shot that Tatsuki Fujimoto did. And I'm super excited to add another series from that manga on my shelf. Another series that I'm super excited to add because I've been looking for it for a while, I got the first 3 volumes of Fly Me to the Moon. Now, this series, I don't know if it got like reprinted recently because I've been looking for the series for months, specifically the first couple volumes. And for the longest time, I wasn't able to find it. And then all of a sudden, I just found them. Like I just found them all really quickly, like right next to each other in the same day. And I'm super excited to do this. This was recommended from one of our community members and one of my friends on Twitter, Edge. And it's so cute. It's so cute. Now, Nasa Yuzaki, who is a boy who apparently has a weird name. No idea why NASA would be a weird Japanese name. Is a boy that grew up in love with space. And one day he's starstruck by this just gorgeous girl, or maybe I should say truck-kun struck, because he's looking at this girl and he gets hit by a car. She actually ends up saving him, and so because of that he confesses to her, saying that he's in love with her, but she'll only date him on one condition: if they get married first. And so she disappears, and when NASA turns 18, he goes out and looks for this gal. Turns out she shows up right on his doorstep. And so this slice of life romance series is a ton of fun, I've heard. The anime I've heard great things about, the manga I've heard great things about, and I'm so excited to get this because it just looks so cute, and it just looks like a premise that I'm just gonna love because it's so adorable. And I hope that it's also like a healthy relationship-esque type of thing as well, because y'all know, if you haven't found out yet, I just simp healthy relationships. Now, a series that I knew after volume 1 that I knew I was going to love, I got the next 2 volumes, 2 and 3, of The Girl from the Other Side. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful series with a kind of like very soft art style that I absolutely adore. I don't really know how to explain it, but if you look at it, like, you can kind of tell what it is. This is a dark, dark mystery between 2 entities that shouldn't really be together, or at least they're not meant to be. This is about Shiva, a small orphan girl that was abandoned by her family, and this teacher who is he's a beast, the kind of beast that inflicts curses on people who touch them or who he touches. And so he never touches her, but he vows to protect her, this small, harmless, and vulnerable child. Volume 1 absolutely left me on a cliffhanger, and I am super convinced that Nagabe has written an excellent series. It is a finished series, and I highly recommend, if you want to get into this, buy like the hardcover omnibus volumes. Those are just starting to get printed, and those are going to be the easiest way to collect this. I'm just stubborn. I had a single volume before the first volume omnibus came out, and so I'm collecting the single volumes now at this point. And oh, it's wow. The trailer for the OVA as well is just, oh, I haven't seen the OVA yet, but God, it looks so good. Now, this kind of gets into some of the older stuff that I bought, kind of that, you know, pre-2007-6 type of stuff. I got the first 4 volumes of Gravitation. Now, this is a very, very old Tokyo Pop series that I believe, oh, that's kind of gross right there. That I believe was printed in like 2005. This was printed in 2002, a couple years off. Now, the reason that it's got kind of these gross spots on it is because these were all bought secondhand. I got these super, super cheap at a half price books. And so I'm fine with what I paid for these, because again, it was doggone cheap, and I had that 15% off discount that you can use multiple times. But this is apparently a boys' love that I came to find out after buying these. I haven't read through it yet, but what I do do know is that this is a story of Suichi Shindo and his band Bad Luck. They're trying to grow into like a popular band, of course, right? He's writing a song down one day and someone comes up to him and says, hey, your sucks. And it turns out to be a famous novelist, Yuri Yuki. But I don't know exactly how it relates, to be honest. I mean, this is a boys love comedy, so I assume the main character falls in love with this like romance novelist or something of the sort, or I guess maybe one of the band members after he's inspired that the novelist told him that his stuff sucks. I don't really know. And I've never heard anybody really talk about this series either. I'm not one to really collect musical manga because something like K-On! Or Your Lie in April, I would prefer to have those anime versions because you can actually hear the music. So I'm excited to jump in this series, see how I like it, see how it goes, and who knows, maybe it's pretty good. Now, if you want good manga though, and kind of peak sports manga, then Haiku is the way to go. So I caved. I said that I was gonna hold out for a Haiku box set because I'm so far behind on collecting Haiku and reading it, but I ended up caving because there was the 20% off over at a Target and they had a bunch of these volumes. And then also I had another discount on top of that for Target that I got even more money off of it. So I caved and got the first 2 through 5 volumes of Haiku. Now I already have volume 1, so I'm now through the first 5 volumes. Now I've watched the first couple seasons of the anime adaptation, and in my opinion it's one of the best sports anime that I've seen so far, and the manga is good as well. I believe Haiku's still in the Oricon, at least maybe until recently, still like peaked in every so often in the charts of like monthly sales. And it's just a great series. I mean, there are plenty of videos that tell you about how Haiku inspired really a generation of kids to play high school volleyball. And that's what this series is about, high school volleyball. It's really, really good. Really, really like it. Again, just like something like Black Clover has a wide cast of characters with a bunch of different personalities that are just so beloved and so good that it's hard not to fall in love with this series. Even if you don't know about volleyball, maybe you're not a huge sports fan, but you want to get into this series does a great job about giving you the basics of volleyball so you like at least know what's going on, but not overwhelming you and trying to get you into being a like volleyball extraordinaire. It's very, very cool, especially as someone with a heavy sports background jumping into this series. Now, going back into kind of the older shoujo beat stuff, we have High School Debut. Now, I don't think this is as old as Gravitation per se, but it's not new in any case. I mean, this is a series where our main character here, Haruna Nagashima, is a middle school softball extraordinaire. She loves softball with all her heart, but now that she's entering into high school, she wants to give her heart to a boy. But just like me, she's absolutely hopeless. Now, the male MC, Yo Komiyama, decides, you know what, I'll be your coach in getting a boyfriend, but there's one rule. You can't fall in love with me. Well, that kind of, in my understanding, goes to crap. So how do they navigate this romance and the obstacles that arise from them? Will they overcome or will it flop? This kind of looks like a cute, fun series. I mean, just right here, like this character is really, really cute. She is adorable. I love the smile. I hope that in this series, it's funny and it has some really good moments alongside it. And hopefully I can get some of these volumes. I know that they had like, I can't remember if it was 3-in-1 or omnibus volumes that were reprinted much more recently and are much more available to get. If you want to jump on this series and maybe you want to put it on your bookshelf, that might be the best way to do it. And so especially if I like volume 1, that just might be the option that I go on. Because like I've mentioned with, you know, Gravitation, it's probably hard to get some of these other volumes. But a series that was started a long time ago that you can actually get several of the volumes now because they're constantly being reprinted. Hunter x Hunter. So I already have volume 1, and especially after it just came out of hiatus with Yoshihiro Togashi making more and more pages and teasing them on Twitter. You may have seen my video talking about that. I have gotten volumes 2, 3, and 4 now in my collection. Now, even though this series is not new by any means, I mean, volume 2 here was first printed in 2005, but in most of these Hunter x Hunter volumes, at least all the ones that I have right now, they've had recent printings. This 10th printing of volume 2 being in April of 2021, just a little bit over a year ago. Or wait, no, this is volume 3. Either way, you get the picture. This series has constantly been being reprinted because it's one of the most popular series of all time. It's one of the most beloved manga series of all time. And so especially if you want to get into Hunter x Hunter, now that the news has broke that it's going to be breaking its indefinite hiatus, you definitely should start getting in on this. And I'm going to start reading the first 4 volumes, and I'll let you know how I like it. Hopefully it's good. I mean, I've been told by a lot of people that I would like it, and I talk about my anime interests all the time, so it can't be too wrong, right? One series that I know I absolutely love because it's one of my favorites of all time. I was just actually talking about it in a YouTube comment of one of my other videos. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon, or Danmachi for short? Now, this is volume 2 of part 2 of the manga. For those of you that don't know, Danmachi released 10 volumes of the kind of first portion of the series, and now they're in part 2 of the series. This is the second volume of that group. It's a great seinen story, in my opinion, in a Greek fantasy setting where there's a lot of influence with Greek gods and goddesses, which, if you do not know, is one of my favorite environments. This is actually one of the first animes that I binged and watched the entire thing in an absurdly short amount of time. So this series has a special place in my heart, and I absolutely love it. If you're interested, highly recommend you pick it up. There's so many great characters as well in this series. I'm gonna put this back down because I just love these new part 2 volumes with all the red and the bright spark of the colors, especially the contrasting yellow and the green eyes. There's a great story in this series. It's a great world system as well as a good cast of characters with, again, so many different personalities. I feel like a broken record, but let me tell you, there's a reason I love this series so much, is because there's so much to love inside of it. If you want love though, and you want romance, let me tell you about one of the funniest series I've ever watched and read in my entire life. Kaguya-sama: Love is War. Now, arguably the best anime of spring 2022 season. I've watched the first 2 seasons well before I started collecting the manga, but now, especially with this 3rd season kind of starting to hit its peak, at least at the time of this recording, I'm trying to get as many of the volumes as I can fast, getting 5 through 9 in terms of the volumes in this series. It's super enjoyable. It's one of the funniest rom-coms I have ever read. The jokes are quick. The jokes are really fast. They hit you hard, but it's not too fast in the sense where you get hit with a joke, you start laughing, you enjoy the laughter, and then by the time you're done laughing, the next joke comes and hits you. That's what this series is, and it's a psychological series as well. There's a lot of mind games, and it pokes a lot of fun at those mind games, especially between the 2 in question, the main lovers of the series, Kaguya and what's your name? Oh God, the president. What's his name? Miyuki, but what's his full name? Crapola. Shirogane. But anyways, one of the funniest series I've read, and I super encourage, if you need a good laugh, maybe you just want a good rom-com, this is one to get. I think what's the funniest though about this series is that, I mentioned this earlier, I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm terrible just at flirting, relationships, all that jazz. I could never be as bad as these individuals. Another series though that has recently announced that it's coming out of hiatus is Land of the Lustrous. Now, this is volume 1 of the manga series, and to be honest, I've heard incredible things like this. Annalise over in the YouTube comments actually recommended this to me a while ago, and so I haven't found volume 1 until very recently, this past month. And so I went and snagged it, and the hiatus for this series was actually from like December 2020 to June 22nd, which is just here in a couple weeks. And I actually think that it's really funny because the joke, I don't know how true this is, I don't know if this is real or not, But the joke is that Haruko Ichikawa, the mangaka, originally went on hiatus because their author notes said that they got a PlayStation 5. So the joke was that they had too many games to play on the PlayStation 5. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I think it's really, really funny to see the jokes of like, Haruko Ichikawa must be done with the Elden Ring. And it's like, I don't know, it's just really funny. But I've heard that the series is incredibly beautiful and well designed. Earth has been struck by meteors, and now from these meteors and stuff, immortal jewels take the form of people, as you can see on this cover. They're really at war with, I think they're called the moon people, who want to take their jewels for, you know, the luxuries to sell them off and stuff. And so they're at war with them. Again, I've heard great things about this series. I believe it also has like an anime season as well. And I'm super psyched to start reading this. I've gotten many recommendations from friends about this, and I've heard that it's just beautiful. One that I've also heard is beautiful on Twitter is Magus. I keep wanting to say Magnus, but it's Magus of the library. Now, in this series, a boy is swept away by the kindness of a library mage, and you know, the magic of reading, and in this case, the literal magic of reading, which is funny because I like the magic of reading. I've seen so many different panels, pages on Twitter about this story as of late, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, I literally bought this because I've seen so many panels and so many just different drawings that are like, wow, this looks really good. I don't really know much about the story outside of what I just told you, but I'm excited to start getting into this. Now, one that I don't really know much about at all, I'll be honest. I'll just be straight up with you. The cover got me interested, and also the back colors anyways. I picked up the first volume of The Maid That I Hired Recently Is Mysterious. Now, I did pick this up not only just because the cover is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I think it's very, very well done, but also the coloring, not only because this is the flat pinkish purple color that I absolutely love, but because it's also like tinted as well here. Anyways, this recently announced an upcoming anime adaptation, and so with only 2 volumes at this point in the recording being in access, I decided to, you know what, pick up volume 1. Now, I didn't really know about this. I read the title and I was like, oh, this is probably like, you know, Maid as Assassin. Look, she's like mysterious. She's like, shh. But it's actually a rom-com because, well, this maid is perfect in every sense. She's a good cook. She's very polite. She's funny. She's great to be around. She works real hard. And so I think the story is about our main character kind of like trying to uncover why she's so perfect. And probably for that reason is because he's in love with her. I don't really know, but I'm excited to enjoy this rom-com. I think it's going to be super cute, super fun. And I'm hoping for good things. The covers, both the first and second volume, are just super gorgeous as well. Now, a series that has gorgeous covers and even more gorgeous of storytelling is Mushoku Tensei. Now, I've said this before, this is one of my favorite isekai out right now that is ongoing and absolutely captivating story. I got volumes 4, 14, and newly released 16 in my collection, and I know that liking Mushoku Tensei is very controversial. I don't really care. This series does the best job that I've read so far of developing its characters for the better. Yeah, I don't really like Rudius, especially in the beginning of the anime, but what Rudius signifies and what Rudius grows into is what I love about him and what he changes and constantly progresses into a better human being, you know, his second chance at life. Also, this series does an incredible job with environmentalism and setting. Environmentalism might not have been the right word, but I think you know what I mean. And it's so mysterious. It's constantly evolving. There's constantly things that are coming up, and I absolutely love it. I love Mushoku Tensei. It was honestly probably my #1 isekai of 2021 after watching the first and second part, and I will stand by that statement. Like, I thought it was just so good, and honestly, I can't wait to start reading. The volumes, though, are really hard to come by because Mushoku Tensei is so popular, so hopefully I can get them soon. But a series that is not that hard to get is Nichijou, or My Ordinary Life. Now, if you don't want a serious series like Mushoku Tensei and you just want to laugh, and laugh, this series is the one for you. This is surreal comedy at its finest. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically trying to get you to cry laughing. It is so good and so funny. I have the first 4 volumes now, read through the first 3, haven't gotten to this yet, but it's just so goofy. Like, this is about a cast of characters in their high school life and going that day-to-day life around them, and just a ton of hyperboles, a ton of just obscure scenarios. I'm sure that you have seen GIFs and video clips on social media like Twitter and Instagram about this series that, oh god, it's just so funny. And it's also really meta too, like, not spoiling too much, but in a other volume in the first 3, there's a moment where you're reading and then all of a sudden things get upside down. And so then you're like, okay, I got to turn the book upside down. But you try to read the book upside down now, and it's actually not the right way. Like, you actually have to go back here and read it in the style going in the reverse. And then after you get there, you go back here and you flip it over. And so the joke is that for a time, you're reading the story like this and people are looking at you like, what the? That is one of the reasons why I love this series so much. It doesn't take itself super seriously, and it just has a lot of fun being a good story. And I love this. I can't recommend it enough. I'm excited to get into volume 4. I was thinking about just selling my first 3 volumes and then buying the box set, because after I bought the first 3 volumes, I found out that there was a box set of this. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go out and buy the 5, 6, and 7, because I think there's only 7 volumes in this series. And oh god, it's just so funny. One series that's a little bit hard to get into if you're late to the game like I am, because, you know, box sets and omnibus and regular volumes. I mean, this was printed, when was this printed? The first edition printing was 2010 and the 13th printing was August 2021, so it constantly gets reprinted, but it's still hard to get. I have volumes 4, 5, and 6, the second omnibus volume of East Blue One Piece, or just One Piece, is the East Blue omnibus volumes. Anyways, I'm starting to get into the series now. I was thinking about just holding out for the box sets, but like right before the first box set went in stock on Right Stuff for like a whole day, I went out and bought this volume. And now that I've bought this volume, I feel like I should just buy the omnibus volumes now. But I really liked One Piece. I've watched like the first 17 episodes, and I think at this point this goes past my knowledge of the anime. So I'm excited to read this, get a little bit farther in the series, and especially because the series is now taking a month off to hit its final saga, not final arc. Saga being like a multitude of arcs, if you don't know that in like manga terms, but it's coming in its ending stages. And so I feel like I should start getting One Piece volumes now, because there's over 100 regular volumes, meaning that there's over 30 of these to get. That's a lot. So I need to get going on One Piece, and yeah, I kind of need to make it a priority, because I really like One Piece, at least the anime, what I've seen so far. I think it's really cool. So I need to get a move on. But one series that I got really lucky, honestly, in grabbing this haul is Pet Shop of Horrors. I got 4 volumes in total of this series. I got volume 1, volume 6, volume 7, whoa, and then volume 9. Let's I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube. But anyways, this series is very, very spooky. This is about a pet shop owner who has kind of humanoid pets, if you can't tell from this thing, and they've all got contracts. But if you break that contract that you have with the pet, let's just say that doesn't end well for you. And this series I was able to find actually at a really, really good price. Now, if you try to buy these volumes online secondhand, you're going to be paying like $45 for a single volume, because I mean, this series is old. I mean, this volume right here, volume 1, was printed in 1996. This volume is like literally as old as I am. And if you've been around the channel for a while, you may know that I actually bought this volume a while ago, but I bought volume 1 in German by accident. So I had to get volume 1 again. I had to repay Maki, who wanted me to buy this series. And so I actually found someone on Twitter who was selling this series, all of these volumes. And originally I told them, hey, you know, I only want volume 1 right now, because, well, at the time, I hadn't gotten my promotion yet. And I was like, I can really only afford volume 1. You know, I could just only afford 1 volume. I'll pay you what it is. I just know it's coming from a more trusted individual. You know, you're sending me pictures of it and stuff. So I'll pay the kind of uppity up price. And because I was getting into the series that the person selling actually really enjoyed, they were like, you know what? I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna throw all of these volumes in and you can have it for $45. So paying $45 for all 4 of these volumes, sure, they're not in the best of condition. They're very, very old, but I'm super happy to get it at that price. You know, this series, again, is expensive. I believe there's 10 volumes in total, or 9, somewhere around there. And so to finish out this series, if I don't get lucky like I did here, it's going to cost me a pretty penny. So anytime I can save money, find a good deal, and special thanks to that person that gave me that deal, you know, I'm pretty happy with it. And like, to be honest, in comparison to some of the older series I got from like Half Price Books, like this is in pretty good condition. I mean, this looks like it's been on a shelf for 25 years, but like it's not overly stained like Gravitation was. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of yellowing, but that's just because it's old. So like overall, it's in pretty good condition. A series that is much newer than Pet Shop Before though, that you can get right now, Promised Neverland. Now, this, in my opinion, I've heard is well, I guess it's not really my opinion, it's somebody else's opinion. I have heard that this is an incredible series, and the main thing that you've probably heard about Promised Neverland is that the anime adaptation fumbled it because season 2 was deviant and it really just was a letdown. And I'm not here to tell you whether that's true or not true. I'm just here to tell you that I loved the first couple episodes so much of the Promised Neverland that I went out and started buying the volumes. I've now got the first 3 volumes of the Promised Neverland, and to be honest, like if you want to get into the series, if you're remotely interested, now is the time to do it. The Promised Neverland at all the Barnes and Nobles that I've gone to, and trust me, in my last video I went to like 8 Barnes and Nobles, you can find pretty much every single volume in this series at a Barnes and Noble. And so if you want to get into this, get into it now, okay? Start getting into it while it's available. Get all the volumes, you know, buy volume 1, read volume 1, see if you like it or not, then buy volume 2. If you don't like volume 2, stop getting them. But if you like volume 2, get volume 3, and then volume 4, and etc. This is a really, really cool series, and this is a series that, at least in the first like 5 episodes of the anime, is very well portrayed and very well done. So I assume the anime, which is the preferred model or the preferred way to gather this series, I started jumping on this now. Like, I'm not gonna let this series get really, really expensive on me. Another series that I know I absolutely love, and I actually watched the anime and the movie of this series, Rascal Does Not Dream. This is of Petite Devil Kohai. The Rascal Does Not Dream of series usually has other titles. The first one of the series being Bunny Girl Senpai, which you may have know if you have any knowledge of this series, but I absolutely love this series. I loved its anime. I thought it was so good and so fun as well. Like, it was a comedy, but it had intense drama as well, and the stories revolved around it were actually like really interesting and kept things refreshing in what they did, and they all kind of tied together. I don't think the anime movie ended it. It could definitely end right there where it did, but I know that the light novels, which is this, are ongoing right now and are still being released, at least in the United States. So I think that there's more to come in terms of if the anime continues on. So very excited to start reading this now that I have the first 2 volumes. I like to try to get, like, especially if a series has been around for a little bit, I like to try to get the first 2 volumes of a series I know I really like before I start reading. So then after I read volume 1 and I like it just as much as I like the anime version, I have more to read right after that, and I can get a whole fulfilling of the series. And excited to get into this. I think there's like 6 total out right now, number 7 coming out soon, or maybe it's 5 out right now, number 6 coming out soon. But either way, I like this series and I'm excited to continue on. A light novel series though that I didn't really know much about. I don't know its anime version. Outside of that, its people love it. It's one of the most popular isekais of all time. It is Re:Zero. Now, I did get volume 1 and I did read through volume 1, and I absolutely loved it. I'm here to tell you right now, this is really, really, really good. Obviously, ReZero has been around for a while, so like there's way more to get into than just volume 1, and number 2 is on the way. But because I already ordered number 2, I went ahead and ordered number 3 and got it as well. And so I'm excited to start getting into this series with a premise that's really, really cool in my opinion. If you do not know about ReZero, starting life in another world, it's an isekai of Subaru, who is one day sent randomly into this world. He meets a beautiful half-elf in this first story, Amelia, but you know, soon after they meet, they're both killed. And so where does the story go from there? You know, there's a volume 3, obviously something has to happen. He's actually brought back to where he was, back in time, back to where he was prior to meeting Amelia and just being isekai'd the first time. So very, very cool in my opinion. A very, very cool premise and very, very well done as well, at least through the first volume. And I'm so excited to get into this, learn more about this world, get into more of this story and how it relates to one another as well. And gosh, the illustrations in here are so beautiful. You may have seen me post about it on Twitter, but oh god, the illustrations were gorgeous in here as well. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good, and I'm so excited to get more of it. Like I believe in the ReZero hype now. I don't know if it's better than Mushoku Tensei. I'm not here to argue that, and I haven't read enough of ReZero to really establish my opinion on that. Well, oh god, ReZero Volume 1 was so good. Now, going back to not necessarily as gruesome as being killed over and over and over and over again, but a little bit of Yuri, back on the Yuri train, I have Syrup Volume 1, the Yuri Anthology. Now, I hate to say this, but somebody recommended this in a YouTube comment. Somebody did, but I could not find it. I looked for literally 20 minutes across all my YouTube videos, and I could not find the person that recommended this series. So I'm super sorry that I don't remember who you are. But this is a collection of stories, an anthology, a collection of stories about how women navigate love, specifically Yuri love. And there are a bunch of Yuri writers and mangakas in this series, in these anthologies, including Kodama Naoko. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. They made I Married My Best Friends and Shut My Parents Up, which I actually want to get into because I like that title a lot. Miyuki Morinaga, Girlfriends, and Yoshi Murakana, who wrote Murcielago. Honestly, I'm so sorry about names and pronunciations. I'm trying. I'm on like day 4 of Duolingo. But either way, this story I've heard good things about. I've heard that it's got a wide mix of different emotions. It's got love, it's got pain, it's got comedy, it's got fun, and it looks really, really cute in my opinion. I think I've heard that there's some spicy in here as well, and maybe in like future volumes of Syrup. So be on the lookout for that if you know, either try to avoid it or maybe you do like it, or you know, I don't judge. Anyways, I've heard good things about this. I'm excited to read it. Sometimes you want to read more of an anthology type of thing where it's just a bunch of stories, not necessarily like something that you have to religiously follow and understand, like Mushoku Tensei or ReZero, like I was mentioning earlier. Sometimes you just want something that you can start paying attention to, stop paying attention to, and move on to the next thing. But if we want to talk about romance, one of my favorites all time, because I've watched all 3 seasons of the anime across all 3 of the platforms that it's on, and I'm so excited for the movie that's going to be coming out soon. Teasing Master Tagaki-san. I'm so happy to finally put this on this bookshelf. I finally found volume 1. I have never seen like more than one Teasing Master Tagaki-san volume, and really the ones that I've seen are like new released ones. I think they just recently reprinted volume 1 because it just came on the shelves, maybe because of the movie announcement or the completion of season 3. But this 2018 print is just a fun, wholesome, like teasing kind of romance series between Nishikata, I'm pretty sure I pronounced his name, it's a very hard name for me to pronounce, and then Tagaki-san. Now, the one thing that I'm interested in is I noticed like looking through this volume a little bit, and then also the covers, is the art style is honestly like kind of a little bit different, at least in the anime adaptation, than like its source material in the manga. So I'm actually like really, really curious if I like it overall or not. I think I'm gonna like it. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a great series in my opinion. I highly recommend it if you like wholesome comedy anime. But I don't know, it's just something cool that I like noticed, you know? Another fun rom-com that has a little bit of dark adventure as well and some fantasy aspects. Toilet Bound Hanako. No, I said that right. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. That's so hard for me to pronounce as well. Now, I also got this one during that Target sale thing, and this one is a new release one, volume 13, but 3 and 13 now I've got 5 volumes in total of this series. And I recently read through volumes 0 through 3, and I actually really like this series. I got into it because of its art styles and its recommendation by community members in our Discord like Deadly Bee. And it's just really fun. It's lighthearted, it gets serious, and it gets kind of action-packed and intense, but at the end of the day, it's just a very enjoyable series, and it's beautifully well drawn and beautifully gone out, and I can't wait for it to get more volumes and to continue reading this because it's a good series. And I also really want to watch the anime as well. I haven't seen the anime yet. Now, we're gonna end off this video with a couple older series as well, starting off with more shoujo beat Wild Ones. Now, this is another one that I found in like the half-priced books, old school type stuff. This is a little bit newer than the other ones, first printed in 2007 by Viz Media. Now, if you're like me and you had no idea what this series was before you picked it up, this is an interesting one. It's a rom-com, obviously, kind of like an adventure type of thing. But Sachi Wakamura's mom passes away, sadly, but she ends up going to live with her grandpa. Turns out her grandpa is head of the Yakuza. That could make for some funny situations. Because of that, she's assigned a bodyguard, this person right here, and now she's got to try to graduate high school and lead a normal life. Can she actually do that though, with not only a head Yakuza grandpa, but also a bodyguard that she happens to fall in love with? Who knows? Some of the reviews I've read on this series are good. It says it's very fun. I'm excited to get into it and try it out, and we'll see how it goes. But the last one is one that, you know, it's a little spicy at times. This one is Yuri Monogatari. Now, it looks like this parental advisory mature content sticker has been put on by like the half-priced books, and this says mature content 18+, but I don't know if that's just because it's seinen or what. Like, you know, I mean, Danmachi is seinen, and it doesn't have, well, I mean, it does have some, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. But anyways, just like Syrup, this is a collection of Yuri's stories, this one being a Japanese style of comic stories, and it's filled with a bunch of different things: irresolvable love, wild fantasies, comedies, adventures, and harsh but sensual realism. This is kind of an older series, and I didn't know if this was like, I didn't really know much about this. This is apparently volume 5, but the great thing about the anthologies as well, and like these collection type stories, is that you can pick up whatever volume you find and kind of enjoy it from there. So I'm curious to get into this. I wonder how it's gonna go. I just realized that their shirts say like I love Yuri, and so that's like really cute because I also love Yuri and Yaoi. Like, I love them all. Like, I just LGBTQ Pride Month. And so that being the end of my haul, I hope you enjoyed this video. Now, before we go, I just want to say a couple things. 1, if you made it to the end, I truly congratulate you because I think this video is freaking long. 2, this video was difficult, not only because I had to record it a second time because I screwed up my microphone in the first recording, but I actually wrote notes. I don't know if you could tell, but I was looking at notes of all of these series that I bought, and so that was difficult. But also, I wouldn't expect me to have a big haul like this, at least for a long time. This was a special month because if you don't know, on like Twitter and Twitch, where I also make content, I got promoted. So a lot of this was also like a celebration for me. And because of this promotion, I'm actually in a position now where I need to buy a new bookshelf. I mean, over here, you can see I've run out of room. I've started stacking books here, which I don't like doing. So next month's manga haul video will not only include a bookshelf, but might also include something like figures. Because if you also can't tell, I like putting things on my bookshelf. And if there's one thing that I don't have, it's a waifu figure. So I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you in the next video. Check out these other ones that I got over here to my, or your left, my right. They're pretty good in my opinion. I mean, YouTube recommends them, so they can't be that bad of recommendations. And keep reading manga. Let me know in the comments what you got this month.